You guys want to hear my favorite song right now? It's called Two Hands. Oh, it's also escapism season. Let me play Two Hands for you first. It's bet at version only. So fire. Anyways. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered with Jordan. Today is the last episode of the first season, so to close out for season 1, I thought it would be kind of just cool to just recap a little bit of the episodes that we've had, and then also kind of lead into what's coming up next week and the weeks to come, especially since we're about to hit into the new year and November's gone by fast. December's going to go by even quicker, I feel like, once everyone's back home for the holidays. So I thought might as well just check in, recap, and get excited for what's coming. So I definitely think that the last few weeks have been just super chaotic in the sense of, I feel like with school coming up to an end and for me being a senior, I know we talked about a few episodes ago before the episode with Marcus about how it just feels like senior is going by super quick, but I do think that it's going to be fun to keep this podcast going. And so my goal is to bring on a bunch of different perspectives for season 2. So I already have a few people lined up, getting lots of different perspectives from other athletes, other clubs, organizations on campus where I am at right now, and then also getting perspective from a few people from home that I really care about, like my old coaches, my best friends from home who are excited to come onto the podcast, who kind of know me from a different perspective, and then kind of hoping to get my grandpa on the podcast as well to kind of engage just all of his wisdom and just throw it onto the podcast, because I've learned a lot from him, and I think that it'd be really cool to bring him on here as well. And then also some other family members, since I will be home during Christmas and Thanksgiving. But I do want to mention that it has been super fun, knowing that I know that right now the podcast is kind of centered towards a lot of Longwood people, because that's where I go to school, and that's who majority of the people who know I'm doing the podcast, they're either my close family friends or the people I'm in all my classes with, or people that I've honestly gotten to meet through people word of mouth, I guess, with the podcast. I've had people come up to me oh my God, I've watched the podcast, whatever, and then I've made new friends out of it, which is always cool. But yeah, so that's kind of where the inspiration of wanting to bring on a lot of different guests came from. So I'm hoping that season 2 will be able to have one, or at least one, if not 2 guests on the podcast. So I think that'll be cool. Something that I kind of usually I'm not the most open person when it comes to things of the matter with I usually don't like to talk about my faith and stuff, not because I'm ashamed of it, but just because I don't know how others feel about it. And I think that some people can get really uncomfortable when other people talk about it or are super passionate about it. So I just wanted to talk about something that I've been really excited about, and that's been going to Bible study. And my friend AJ has really gotten me into it, and just kind of talking to her through some things, and getting to build new friendships with that is something I'm really looking forward to. And hopefully the podcast can get to a point where we can have those types of episodes where we talk about things like that, and it doesn't have to feel like it's throwing God into everything, but kind of just seeing through another perspective, I guess, is a way to put it. But so that's been really fun recently. I got the internship at the press club that's in town. It's the popular bar and restaurant that all the college kids and all of the locals go to. So I'm super excited to be working with them throughout winter break. So I'm going to be in and out of Farmville, so that'll be fun. And then also being able to do the ESPN Plus stuff, I think is going to be really cool. And then obviously spring season is coming, because lacrosse is a spring sport. So it'll be fun once the podcast gets rolling through. I'm sure we'll get through season 2 by January. So by the time season's starting, we'll be in season 3 of the podcast, and so a lot of lacrosse talk then. But yeah, I just think that bringing on a lot of perspectives that people who I care about and who care about me, but then also can offer up some advice, I guess, and just some insight. And I don't know, I think hearing other people's stories is super important. But we were talking about in Bible study yesterday about how like always like trying to figure out like why everything happens for a reason and all these things. And I think that's kind of the theme of season 1 is I feel like a lot of people who have come onto the podcast have said, oh, like everything happens for a reason, or like this was the plan, or this was like what was supposed to happen. And I thought it was kind of interesting because the other day at Bible study, we were talking about how we're always in search of like, okay, well, why is this happening to me? Why me? Why me? Like, why? And just kind of always wondering and looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that something that stuck out to me, honestly, from the whole entire session, I was just thinking about how, like, sometimes you don't know why. Like, you don't get to know why. And I think this semester has taught me so much about not knowing why certain things happen, but also, like, that there sometimes you do get to know why. And I think if I had to compare my semester, like, at the end of my junior year, I often, like, wondered, like, oh, like, why are all these things happening to me? Like, why am I experiencing all this, like, whatever, like, grief, sadness, confusion? And I think now, like, going through this summer, and it's, like, taught me that I've built so many new, like, friendships, and I've made so many more new connections, and I've opened up my horizons to so many things, and there's so many more opportunities out there for me that I never would have maybe, like, explored if I had been caught up in those old things. So I feel like making new friends and, like, experiencing, like, new things like Bible study, or even just, like, going to more events, like, in the community, and then also like the internship stuff, like with ESPN, or the internship stuff with like the lacrosse team, like being able to still run the social medias, and then also being involved in the communications and marketing for the university, and then the press club, like, communications position. I think that, like, these are all things that I've, like, been able to insert myself in because of this time and, like, reflection period I had during the summer of, like, you know, all these things happened that were, like, not super great and not a part of what you thought was your ideal plan, but it's because there was something better for you. And that has been something that has really stuck out to me. And as someone who thinks that faith is, like, important, not thinks, like, knows faith is important to myself, it's something I'm trying to pursue more, like, in honoring of, like, my grandmother, who was very, like, she is very religious, and like, trying to, like, insert, like, that mindset of, like, yeah, like, we always want to know why things are happening, but sometimes we don't get to know, and sometimes we do get to know, but it's not always right away. And so I feel like that's kind of a huge theme for season 1, and I just thought that was ironic that it was at Bible study yesterday, and I was like, I really want to make episode 8, like, a good closeout. And I just feel like every guest that has come on here has talked about, like, things they've been through and, like, how it's ended for them, and, like, things that they're going off to do now. But I think there's also the fact that, like, it's okay to also not know why things are happening to you, and it's okay to not have that end of your story yet, because your story really doesn't end until you know. But yeah, but I just thought that was cool, thought it was ironic, thought it was a sign, and I wanted to share that with you guys. But things to look forward to. The podcast is not ending at the end of this season. Season 2 will be up and running next week. We have 2 guests coming on, and I'm super excited for that. And then we have another 2 guests coming on, and then we're gonna have some individuals when I'm home for the holidays. And then obviously being in and out of Farmville, that will bring up a lot of opportunities for new people to come onto the podcast. And I'm super excited for it. I think, like I said, perspective is everything. So bringing on as many different perspectives as possible, and, like, maybe you'll connect with one of them, maybe you won't. And either way, like, someone's getting to share their story, and I think that's important. So yeah, I will see you guys soon. Stay on the lookout on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, of course, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.